Hi everybody, working on the swinging arm. I just thought I'd do you a quick video on screw removal. If you get a couple of screws which are really stuck, obviously if you can soak them in penetrating oil, that's obviously going to help. Now, I don't know if any of you have got one of these impact drivers. Now, it's not just a normal screwdriver. This is a hammer impact driver. Now they work for putting in, like for putting the screws in, but they're also really good at taking things out. The beauty of it is when you're putting screws in, you know when you use your electric screwdriver it always slips on the head. Because this is hammering all the time, it stops it slipping out all the time. So it's bloody good for putting screws in. And also for taking, you know, we used to have the old impact drivers that you hit with a hammer and you used to catch the skin in the head all the time. This takes that out of the equation. Now, what I found on the engine head, the Phillips heads, if they strip, because it's the head itself which is rusty, if you can cut a nice big groove in it with a hacksaw, you can get your thickest normal screwdriver head, put it in your impact driver, and 9 times out of 10 I've found it will get it out. It will get the screw out. But as you can see with this one, because it was in a recessed hole, she wouldn't come out. So what I've had to do, and when I was in the army or working with vehicle mechanics, you become a screw or bolt removal expert, because the vehicle mechanics just continuously snap bolts off. So the thing to do is get a nice sharp chisel, and if you go in at 90 degrees you get a nice cut in the head, and then just take it over at 45 degrees to get a nice cut in the head. Don't carry on with this chisel though, because you end up cutting a chunk of the head off. So if you get a nice shoulder in there, there's 2 ways you can get them out here. Now, to get the thing started, you then get your small flat-ended chisel, and you can fit the head in that shoulder, and slowly start tapping it just to release it, to get that going round. Now, sometimes you've got to go all the way with this method, but if you can get a notch and get it moving, and then get another notch in the other side, then you can get your impact driver in there with your straight headed blade, get it moving. Now this one, I've got it moving, it's come halfway out, and the only trouble with using a straight headed tip is if you're off centre or the bolt's bent, the head comes flying off all the time, and those straight heads, they shear, the blades break off. That's probably why we changed to Phillips heads, and now we're changing on to the star heads, all the different shaped heads. But this one, I'm having to chisel it around to get it out. So that's just a little screw removal tip. You know, if you can't get them out, then it's the case like this one. I could probably have got a hacksaw down the back of this and cut the head off. Then you can get this out of the way. Get a centre pop in the middle of the head, the bolt, as best you can. 9 times out of 10 you're never central, and try and drill through the centre with your smallest drill bit without snapping it, and then slowly work your way up until you're nearly at the thread line. And sometimes you find the thread starts to come out, and you can save the thread, and then you can just run a tap down there and keep it the same. But you normally find that the drill, because the bolt's harder than the steel that's around, the drill will wander off, and you'll end up with an ovaled hole, and you have to drill a new hole. And if you're in steel like this, you can tap a new thread through. You'll probably find that because this swinging arm is so thin, it's probably got a nut welded on the back or something like that. But that was just a screw removal method. It works really well on the engine casings as well, if you can get an impact driver, and you can get your sockets on the end of that with a straight shafted adapter. and it helps to get the rusty bolts out of these casings before you knacker the head of the bolt, because the socket fits so well. Especially with these old Japanese bikes. In the end, that bike was Japanese, but it was made in Spain, so all the bolts are made of chocolate. Right guys, just tip of the day, screw removal. Okay, bye.